20th day of November 2023. Good evening and a very warm welcome to the Daily Report right here on your authoritative channel TV47. My name is George Maringa. Our sign language interpreter is Rhoda Nyamai. As you can see behind me, the Cabinet Secretary for the Cooperatives, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, that is MSME Development, the Honorable Simon Kiprono Chelugui, is already in studio, and he will be our guest tonight regarding matters concerning his docket. And talking about the CS, he's, as I said, behind me. Waziri, thank you so much for joining us. Karibu sana to our studios.
Thank you.
Even before we have the main conversation later on, Waziri, I'm curious, before then you were Cabinet Secretary for Labour, Social Protection. How does that compare to the ministry that you now handle, the MSME's docket?
Thank you, George. I served earlier as Cabinet Secretary for Water, Irrigation and Sanitation.
Yes.
And later, for 2 years, served as Minister for Labour and Social Protection.
Absolutely.
And now Minister for Cooperatives, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. Mm-hmm. And in all that period that I served, first it's an honor to be appointed and to serve with distinction and honor to serve Kenyans. One, the impact and the lives I touched while I served as Minister for Water and Labour. You remember during my time as Labour Minister, we were serving under very difficult circumstances during the COVID. But through the engagement and the relationship I built with the social partners, COTU, Central Organization of Trade Union, and even FKE, we were able to sign an MOU that ceased any memorandum of understanding between employers and employees. So Kenya was the only country that never experienced strikes, go slow, and demonstration because of the relationship that we built. Now in the Ministry of Cooperatives, I have a full plate. Cooperative is coming back in Kenya in a big way, and notwithstanding the fact that we are the best country in Africa and the 7th in the world in terms of membership of cooperative. We have 14 million people in the cooperative movement in Kenya, whether it's financial services, agriculture and production, transport, investment, all these are all in housing and cooperatives. Then I'm also charged with a big responsibility to promote the bottom-up economic transformation agenda through the MSME. So for sure, I have a full plate.
You have a full plate.
And I have a good team, and we have an expectant community, the society, and the supportive government. Yeah.
Absolutely, and we'll be discussing that. But when you gauge your performance for the last 1 year and a few months and counting, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your performance?
Since I don't want to be so optimistic and so generous to myself, I'll give myself 7.
7?
Because I had to start from scratch. This is a new docket. But I believe we've sensitized, we've done the groundwork, we are ready to go.
Okay. Indeed. Do you agree that the ranking of the CS, he grants himself a 7 out of 10? Waziri Chelugui is already here in studio, our guest tonight, and we shall be talking matters, Hustler Fund, among other issues that, focus on his docket. You're watching the Daily Report right here on TV47. We invite your feedback, as always, at TV47 News, at George Maringa _. You can tweet the CS directly at CS Simon Chelugui. Use the hashtag Daily Report, hashtag Daily Report TV47. We thank you for joining us. But before that important conversation that is coming your way right here on TV47, let's have a glimpse of some of the top stories making headlines tonight. Tonight, Azimio la Umoja coalition leader Raila Odinga calls for the resignation of 2 cabinet secretaries.
CS for Energy and Petroleum is a Churchill, and National Treasury, CS Njuguna Ndung'u, have certainly committed criminal offenses.
Raila stating that Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir and Treasury Cabinet Secretary Professor Njuguna Ndung'u should step down in connection to the 17 billion shillings oil deal. Another KDF chopper crashes moments after takeoff, pointing to a worrying trend involving military helicopters in recent months. Also tonight, we share the dedicated efforts of a women's group in Laikipia County as they address the challenges posed by a toxic invasive plant.
Sisi hatuwezi uza ng'ombe ikiwa na afya, mbuzi ikiwa na afya, ng'ombe zetu hazina maziwa kwa sababu ya kufinyiliwa na hii ugonjwa.
Absolutely, we invite your feedback. I can see your questions already coming in. The CS will be joining us a little bit later on, and we invite your feedback as well. Our SMS line is also open, as well as our WhatsApp number, which are on the bottom end of your screen. We prefer that you start with your name, where you're watching us from, and your question or comment to the CS, or rather regarding the show. My name is George Maringa. Roda Nyamai is on sign language interpretation tonight. We begin with our top story, where Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir and his Treasury counterpart Professor Njuguna Ndung'u are now on Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition's receiving end after Raila Odinga on Monday demanded for their resignation over the controversial government-to-government fuel deal struck with two Gulf firms. This comes a day after President William Ruto defended the oil deal, which he says was conducted openly and transparently. Mike Kagwongo opens our broadcast tonight with that report.
In response to the now contentious government-to-government fuel dispute that involved two Gulf companies, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leader Raila Odinga has demanded that the two cabinet secretaries resign to pave way for investigations.
They stole money from the consolidated fund in addition to spending money way above what Parliament approved. They must not only resign, they must also be prosecuted.
Odinga says that the secret signing and subsequent increase in fuel prices in Kenya were intended to benefit specific government officials. Speaking here in Nairobi on Monday, Odinga claimed that the agreement was signed by the Energy Ministry and state-owned businesses in the Middle East and was not between Kenya and the United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia.
I am asking that the documents be shared with the public. This must be documents signed by a representative of the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates and the Republic of Kenya, not that of the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum and ADNOC Global Trading Limited or Emirates National Oil Company.
On Sunday, President William Ruto defended the oil deal, which he claims was conducted openly and transparently. The head of state highlighted that his administration was not a broker, but a mere guarantor for international oil firms to supply the crucial commodity for 6 months on credit.
Watuambie, badala ya kutuambia we must prove that it is a scam, let them prove to us that it is a scam.
The former Prime Minister claims that the government-to-government oil deal was a plot to steal money from the public coffers, in violation of the law, requesting that the two CSs be summoned and questioned by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission (EACC).
We will not relent on this matter until the truth is known and punishment that fits the crime is meted out. In the meantime, heads must roll at the Energy Ministry and National Treasury.
The opposition leader also downplayed President William Ruto's criticism of him, arguing that the agreement had failed to accomplish its original goals of bringing down fuel prices and relieving pressure on the Kenyan shilling. Mike Kagwongo, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mike, for that. Leaders from Wajir County, led by Governor Ahmed Abdullahi, now warned the national government to immediately release emergency funds to address what they termed as a devastating situation following the ongoing El Niño rains, which have wreaked havoc in the county and more than 30 other counties. The heavy downpour, which is said to have marooned a better part of the county, is reported to have claimed the lives of at least 4 individuals in Wajir only. Moiga William with a comprehensive report.
This is Mwingi in Kitui County. Heavy rains experienced in the area have resulted to this situation that residents are now grappling with. It is a bad experience for Mzee Muthoi Kiritu. He has lost a good number of livestock, among other properties, after the heavy downpour experienced in the area resulted to floods.
Mbuzi zangu zilichukuliwa na maji, ng'ombe, mbuzi, na funda, na kuku, na chakula na nguo zangu. Hata nguo za kujifunika sina.
At the Wilson Airport, leaders from Wajir County oversaw the airlifting of medical supplies to the county, which they say has been flooded for the past 3 weeks, as they plead for urgent intervention, asking the national government to release emergency funds to address the devastating effects of the ongoing El Nino rains.
We need all the help we can get from everyone, but we are demanding and asking for the most help from the national government, because these citizens do not belong to the county government only.
Let's get proper, managed program, because the El Nino flood is here with us. Like now where I come from, Eldas, over the last 2 days, the entire sub-county headquarters has been submerged with water.
Legislators drawn from the area caution that unless the national government releases the funds earmarked in the supplementary budget to mitigate the effects of El Nino rains, the situation will get out of hand, and that the state should urgently intervene and channel proper logistical support to evacuate marooned residents to prevent waterborne diseases and further casualties.
The national government that we see in northern Kenya is called Kenya Red Cross Society. Those are the only people who have done any response in our area.
And we are seeing less of the department, the national department that are supposed to be giving hand to the people at such a time.
Further, an appeal has been made to have President William Ruto declare the ongoing El Nino rains as a national disaster, as to attract the necessary support and resources to mitigate its effects, which fears that the situation might get out of hand in the northeastern region if not urgently acted upon. The national government has mapped out areas that are reported to be greatly affected, with the number of counties rising to 33 counties from the previous 21 counties.
The disaster is with us. We must take this issue seriously.
The magnitude of the problem and the response are not matching, and there is need for more effort.
This plane will deliver medicine to Wajir County, but the question remains, how will this particular medicine be delivered to the far-flung areas of Wajir County? Leaders from the region calling for all support they can get. Moige William, TV47, Wilson Airport, Nairobi.
And as Moige William was disembarking from that aircraft, one fell where on Monday, that is today, a helicopter crash in Wajir resulted in injuries to the pilot and 2 passengers. Reports suggested that they were en route to Arbajan in northern Kenya to get examination papers from candidates participating in the current Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education KCSE examinations. In a separate incident, a police officer escorting KCSE exam papers to Mahero Secondary School in Alego, Usonga, Siaya County was tragically killed. The officer, accompanied by a colleague and the center manager, fell victim to an ambush by unknown assailants wielding crude weapons.
Monday morning, business was not as usual at Mahero Secondary School after a police officer met his death, with his colleague escaping with severe injuries. This was after being attacked by unknown assailants. According to eyewitnesses, the officer had just alighted from a school bus that had ferried them to pick examination papers from Siaya County headquarters, but alighted a few meters away because the bus could not reach the school due to the bad state of the roads.
Naona watu wanapita mbio, anateremka. Kuna wengine toka na majembe pande hii ya juu, ya chini huku wakitoka kwa shamba. Naona pia wanateremka mbio. Sasa sikujua kitu imeendelea. Nikasema acha nimalize shamba yangu kwanza, ndio nifanye nini ndio niende. Hata kufika kwa barabara nilisituka sana, tu wameua ofisa, nimeshangaa sana.
While confirming the incident, Siaya County Commissioner Julius Otieno urged residents to be patient as investigations begin into the matter to find out what could have triggered the heinous act.
Hata kama ni wageni, si tumejua wamepita barabara gani, wameelekea wapi. Lakini singependa wananchi mwage mtama penye kuku wengi. Najua wengi wenu sasa mnauoga, kwa hivyo kama una habari unapeana kwa siri.
Na mimi kama County Police Commander, hatutalala kama polisi kama hayo mapunduki bado yako katika mikono ambaye they are not authorized. so hatutalala kwa sababu ile kitu imefanyika leo itakuwa kidogo na ile kuliko ile kitu itafanyika hao watu wakiwa na mabunduki watatatisa nyinyi zaidi kuliko vile wametatisa sisi.
In other news, a pilot and his 2 passengers are nursing injuries after their helicopter crashed. Reports indicate that the incident happened while they were heading to northern Kenya in Abidjan to get papers of the ongoing KCSE exams. Nelly Lusigi, TV47.
Still on matters aircraft crashes, an unknown number of people who were on board a military chopper were injured when it crashed moments after takeoff from Buna Hospital in Wajir North. The M117 Kenya Air Force chopper was badly damaged after it dropped to the ground as the pilot tried to lift off. Police said the pilot and his team had dropped relief food in the area and were leaving when the incident happened at about 4 p.m. The tragedy was captured by locals who were present. It showed the chopper take off and later lost momentum before coming down. The injured, who included the crew members, were rushed to the local hospital. The M117 Kenya Air Force chopper was badly damaged after it dropped to the ground as the pilot tried to lift off. Now, this unfortunate incident is not an isolated case. This is the second crash involving a KDF helicopter in less than 2 weeks. On November, that is the first incident we have reported just a few seconds ago, happened today, where a KDF helicopter crashed in Wajir and several people were injured, and the chopper was supplying food to flood-affected families in Buna town. Now, in less than 2 weeks, there has been another crash where the KDF helicopter on 9th of November crashed in Kisamis area, that is in Kajiado West. The Kenya Air Force Fennec helicopter hit a power cable while en route to Nairobi, and 2 Kenya Air Force pilots were hospitalized. Now, on 18th September, that is still this year, a military helicopter crashed in Lamu County, and the crash claimed the lives of all 8 soldiers on board. That was on the 18th of September this year. Now, the crew were part of an air surveillance for the ongoing multi-agency security operation Amani Boni, that is OAB. The crash happened on 18th September 2023, and the crew were part of the air surveillance for the ongoing multi-agency security operation Amani Boni, that is OAB. On 20th July, there was another crash where a Kenya Air Force helicopter crashed at Chemlingot Stadium in Baringo County. The Nairobi-bound Fennec helicopter hit a tree and crashed while taking off. All passengers disembarked safely. Indeed, that is just a history of the crashes so far witnessed involving Kenya Defence Forces helicopters. The trial of former Mungeki leader Maina Njenga for crimes he allegedly committed in Bahati sub-county proceeded on Monday 20th at the Nakuru Law Courts. The trial opened on a dramatic note after the first prosecution witness, Njenga's mother-in-law, collapsed while taking oath. Chichi Josephine tells us more.
It was all spectacle at the Nakuru Law Courts on Monday as the man commonly referred to as the former Mungeki leader Maina Njenga appeared for trial for crimes he allegedly committed in Bahati sub-county, Nakuru County. The court session was briefly interrupted as the first prosecution witness, Njenga's mother-in-law, an elderly woman identified as Hannah Njoki, collapsed a few minutes after taking to the stand to testify against her son-in-law. Nakuru Principal Magistrate Kipkirui Kibelion dismissed the application by a team of lawyers led by Steve Biko, who accused the state of turning some of the accused persons into prosecution witnesses without following the due process.
I apologize, but I am feeling that we are going back to the 80s and 90s of this country. And for that reason, I urge you to allow us 14 days to appeal your decision.
The magistrate dismissed the application, ruling that Mr. Jenga failed to produce evidence to support his claims.
I do not, with tremendous respect, find a cause to adjourn this matter. As much as it is the defense calling for adjournment, it is similarly an accused right under Article 52E to have the trial begin and conclude without unreasonable delay. Consequent thereto, I direct that the trial hearing proceeds as scheduled.
Minor Jenga is facing 7 counts relating to membership to an outlawed criminal gang and engaging in organized crime in Bahati Sub-County, Nakuru County between May 11th and 18th, 2023.
6.
Chichi Josephine, TV47.
Away from that, residents from the Naibunga area of Laikipia County who are pastoralists are appealing to the government and philanthropists to save them from the invasion of a dangerous plant known as opuntia, which is increasingly destroying pastures while causing many livestock to fall ill and some to die. In 2015, a group of scientists introduced a bug by the name cochineal, which as a means to eradicate the plant in the region with little success. Our reporter John Javakiani visited the area and prepared the following story.
Livestock in Naibunga region of Laikipia County have faced challenges finding pastures for over 4 years, with the prolonged drought worsening their whole situation. The existing pastures are unable to thrive due to the prevalent presence of the hazardous invasive opuntia plant, which has extensively covered portions of the land. In this county, the invasive plant has spread due to heavy rains while covering about 3/4 of the land and preventing growth of grass and other plants. Due to the situation, both livestock and wildlife are compelled to consume the pastures infected with the dangerous opuntia plant, placing their animals at risk. Many animals are left with the injuries in their mouths and some even die.
Iko na madhara mingi sana. Ya kwanza, unaona mifugo simeisha, imemaliza mifugo. Unakuta mifugo sikienda asubuhi kukula, jioni sikirudi utaona nyingi ni vipofu, hawaoni.
Na ilianza kwa affect mbuzi sana. Na nikitumia sababu ni addictive. Mbuzi ikula ng'ombe kidogo, haikuli nyasi tena. Alafu tumeka tawasi ina affect matunda, inajaa mdomo, inang'oa meno, inafura kwa ulimi. So kasi ya mbuzi ni kukula na kukula.
The opuntia plant, which is widespread in the northern eastern region of Kenya, was introduced for the first time in the country during the colonial era and was grown as an ornament plant. It was also grown to protect humans from the invasion of wild animals, but it has become a nuisance due to its rapid spread. Currently, efforts have been initiated by this group of women under the training of Northern Rangeland Trust, NLT, who have taken the responsibility to eradicate the plant.
Ile siku ingine macho ya mtoto imepotea juu ya hiyo kashindano ya hiyo opunja. So sisi wa mama tuliona hii kitu imetupeleka hasara na imetudhuru kwa maboma zetu.
In 18 controlled environments through plant growing systems in the region, women have initiated the introduction of an insect called cochineal. The insect, introduced by scientists in 2015, targets the opuntia plant and effectively eradicates it without causing any adverse effects on the environment. Despite these women's effort, one of the biggest challenges they face is the long distance they have to travel to reach each and every plant.
Mtusaidia kwa sababu area yetu ni kubwa. Kwa sababu area ni kubwa sana. Na mkitusaidia kama wamama, mkitushika tu mkono kama wamama, mmeshika community msima.
With the effects easily detected on domestic animals, scientists' research is yet to determine the long-term effects of the plant on wildlife. The impact of opuntia plant and the pasture growth has led to conflicts between wildlife and humans. With only 20% of the land successfully cleared of the plant, there is scarcity of pastures, leading to conflict between local communities and wildlife. Locals contend that the plant requires 2 years to complete eradication.
So, the cochineal is able to suck life from the plant. It sucks the juice, and then
as much as it's slow, it takes almost 2 years for a plant to die, but we can say that it's working and it's effective.
Kwa sababu hapo mbeleni hii land ilikuwa land mzuri sana, ilikuwa na nyasi, but kulingana na venye Opuntia ilishaingia, ilianza kuikilia everything.
In response to the combined challenges, drought-induced grass dying or the impact of the Opuntia plant, women in the area have innovatively adopted an alternative strategy. They are actively preventing water loss, especially during this rainy season, by planting grass in semicircular bands. These bands serve effective measures to rehabilitate damaged soils and hardened land for cultivation purposes, including crops, pastures, and forests.
We are hoping to have more grasses, which will translate to having more credits in terms of carbon credits in the market. So besides just the credits, it's also going to improve the livelihoods of these communities.
John Javakiania, TV47, Laikipia County.
Thank you, Java, for that. Equity Group has recorded reduced profits after tax of 36.2 billion shillings, a dismal growth of 5% year-on-year, which the financial institution attributes to reduced transactions by customers in the country. Equity has now increased loan loss provisions by 107%, while the bank's CEO, Dr. James Mwangi, says the bank is actively de-risking MSMEs on their loan books as operating costs are now higher than interest rate income. He, however, says subsidiaries in the other countries are holding up the fort for the bank, where Kenya only makes up for 56% of the total revenues, and DRC is fast gaining track as an ideal market.
The inflation rate this past month rose to 6.9%, hitting hard the price of household commodities and food items. This shock's clearly extended to financial institutions as the end of the third quarter of the year rolled in, and so did the dip in disposable incomes.
Our growth in our cost-income ratio, moving from 47 all the way to 50%, but as we said, this was a conscious effort to support the customers, and we believe that will be compensated. As we have seen, the cost-income ratio of DRC have taken another direction, now below 50, and we believe that that will cushion any impact that would be in Kenya.
In contrast to the hike in loan acquisition, net loan loss provision has more than doubled from 8.6 billion to 17.7 billion. This pushed the total losses for the bank, increasing it year on year by 47% from 56.6 billion last year to 83.2 billion shillings.
It was important for us to keep showing that support, to keep their businesses running, to keep their businesses going, and we developed that business line to be able to do that, and for them to be able to do it conveniently.
We could not be able to pass the interest, the heightened interest. If you look at the US dollar denominated loans, they were at 3%, they are now at 12% because they were liable. But if you passed a 400 basis point increase, or a 400% growth in interest expense to the customers, the national impact will be default.
However, total income rose by 28% year on year, and the bank says post-tax profit was recorded at 19.3 billion shillings.
Market losses equal to 16% have been netted off against our capital, and we are still 600 basis points above the capital minimum legal requirements.
Equity Bank DRC posted 142% net profit growth to 11.4 billion shillings, while the Tanzania subsidiary posted 136% growth in net earnings. Earnings per share is now at 4% for the bank. Increasing macroeconomic pressures, a fast declining shilling, and even the rising rates of inflation are clearly showing in financial firms, where the rates of acquisition of loans have risen by 26%. Is this showing how exactly Kenyans are fast depleting, especially when it comes to their wallets? Hibak Said for TV47.
Thank you, Hibak Said, for that report, which leads us to our short break right here on the Daily Report on TV47. You are still with Waziri Chelugui, the CS for micro and small enterprises, that is MSMEs and cooperatives. Waziri, we are about to take a short break even as Harambee Stars plays Seychelles in Ivory Coast. You want to stand by for that conversation with Waziri right here in studio. He is live. Channel all your questions through our SMS platform 22047 on X, formerly Twitter, at TV47 News, at George Maringa_. You can tweet him directly at CS Chelugui. We will be looking forward to your feedback and your questions, rather your thoughts that you have for the show and for him as well. We'll be back in a few minutes. Do stay with us.
Wanasema wasemao kuwa elimu ni bahari haishi kwa kuchotwa. Wakati mwingi natangamana na wanafunzi madarasani, sio kama mwalimu bali kama nahodha kwenye kipindi cha tasnia ya elimu. Na iwapo utanikosa madarasani, basi utanipata nyanjani nikisaka habari zenye usawa, ufasaha na ukweli. Na iwapo utanikosa nyanjani, bila shaka utanipata studioni, hapa nikisoma habari na kuendesha mijadala mikomavu. Mimi ni Andrin Kilemi, mpenzi wa lugha ya Kiswahili na elimu kwa jumla.
They say money makes the world go round. So let's slow things down a bit. Put things in perspective. From the markets to the streets to the stocks, we make the complex comprehensible. Join me, Hibak Said, on TV47 Business News for market insights like never before.
What's making the headlines? What does it mean to you? How does it affect you? We answer all these questions every Sunday for half an hour on To The Point Show. Hey, I'm Grace Kuriakanja, and a lot has happened this week. Let's dive into it.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for.
That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Moyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the home of Untold Stories.
Katika majengo haya, hapa ndipo sheria zinapotungwa na zinapopakuliwa. Nitakuletea viongozi mbalimbali, mirengo mbalimbali, wote kwa pamoja wakipika na kupakua. Tutawapa nafasi kuweza kuangazia changamoto na mafanikio ya ugatuzi katika ukumbi wa siasa kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 kamili na kuendelea.
kutoka eneo hili la Naivasha kwenye kaunti 032, gatuzi la Nakuru.
Kutoka kaunti ya Elgeyo Marakwet, kaunti 028.
Nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Wajir.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Turukana.
Kwa matukio yote yanayojiri katika kaunti hii 012.
Kutoka kaunti nambari 1, kaunti ya Mombasa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Lamu.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka Kisii County.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Machakos.
Kutoka kaunti hii ya Trans Nzoia.
Kaunti 038.
Kutoka gatuzi nambari 029, kaunti ya Nandi, chemichemi ya mabingwa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Kakamega.
Nitakuwa nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti
That's 5 minutes past the hour. We thank you so much for staying with us right here on the Daily Report on TV47. With me, George Maringa. My guest tonight is Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Cooperatives and Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, that is MSMEs, the Honorable Simon Kiprono Chelugui. Waziri, thank you so much for staying with us. Earlier on, you give yourself, rating of 7 out of 10. Perhaps what would you attribute to what you think has led to the success that would give you a 7, and what are you doing to achieve, rather to fill the gap of the 3?
Thank you, George. To lead a ministry, you need people. Mm-hmm. And I can only deliver by motivating and inspiring the team towards a certain objective. We have a mandate as a Ministry of Cooperatives, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, and we rely on human resource. The team that I have in the Ministry of Cooperative, led by the PS, Patrick Lemmy, and the Commissioner of Cooperatives, David Obonyo, and the entire structure. And as you are aware, cooperative is a devolved function, and it's across the 47 counties. So all these counties have units and units that have also the similar mandate. So what I have done as a minister, as far as cooperative is concerned, is to converge the teams. We have been speaking about specific value chains, and we can handle and address all of them at the same time. So we have picked on a few priorities, and as we speak, we have almost addressed the issues affecting coffee. Okay. We've had conferences, we have meetings with Senate, with Parliament, and with also a few counties where coffee is produced. And we have carried out institutional reforms across the value chain. We have reforms going on at the Nairobi Coffee Exchange. We have regulatory and legal reforms to see the return of Coffee Board of Kenya and the Coffee Research Foundation, which used to benefit from ad valorem levy. That facility will be financed and sustained by farmers. Okay. When you look at the dairy sector, we've just as I conclude the coffee, we have released the highlight of all these reforms is an intervention by government towards increasing the minimum return. Government has allocated in this budget 4 billion shillings, meaning farmers in coffee will be able to move their advance payment from 20 shillings previously to 80 shillings. And that is an advance. Even if money is gotten by selling this coffee higher than 80 shillings, then we will transfer that to the farmers as a bonus. So I'm urging farmers, the coffee farmers of Kenya, to go back to their farms because we are with them the full hog, from the farm to processing and logistics to marketing and trading and exporting and even sourcing the market. Recently we held meetings and you are aware the president did issue an executive order number 1 that I'll sign the deputy president to lead these reforms. So I chair the reforms under the leadership of the deputy president. Yes. And we are expecting Starbucks and Seadoman to come to Kenya to have a direct engagement We're also looking at warehouses across the world. In Antwerp, Belgium, a team has been there. We have a team that has gone to US, Seattle, and we have a team in DMCC in Dubai. All these are meant to place a Kenyan coffee near the market. On the milk sector, we are carrying out modernization program on upgrading like factories in Mogotio, in Runyenjes, in Narok, and even Kabianga. We've just finished Nyambene, Kiganjo in Nyeri, and Nyahururu. And that has enhanced Kenya's milk production from 400,000 liters to 800,000 liters. We are now looking at the export market. As we speak today, we have the highest production of milk because of the good rains. Okay. So what we are looking at is how do we now export part of this milk? And that's why the modernization program is going on. Today, the National Treasury did allocate us 500 million. And I think you heard the president yesterday when he was in Bomet that Treasury will release 500 million to new KCC to mop up excess milk. We have seen the drop in price of milk from 50 shillings to 45 shillings to 43 shillings, and now some milk processors are paying 33, 35 shillings. This is a complete loss to the farmers. As a government, we can't watch and remain aloof and remote. We have to respond and listen to the farmers. I received call from Wasingishu, from Bomet, from Nyandarua, from Kirinyaga, from Nyeri, from Meru. Farmers are beginning to feel the pressure of excess milk. So this intervention will allow KCC to mop up any excess milk that may, and also to manage the price. So we will be paying 45 shillings per liter.
Per liter. How soon is that?
We are beginning. We have received the money, and therefore we will roll out, and we will be absorbing. That means all the milk will be received. No milk will be returned back, and we will process the payroll every month as we have been doing. And finally, on the fish farmers, we have also registered 467 BMUs, beach management units. These are cooperatives handling fish. The idea here is to aggregate fishermen and fish farmers so that whatever they collect, we'll provide them with the tools and also cold storage facilities. We've had a challenge with our fish farmers. Every time they harvest their fish, it goes bad because there's lack of preservation and preservation as they wait for the market. We have new emerging crops, potatoes, avocado, macadamia. My role then going forward, as I sort out the ones I've mentioned, I'm looking at aggregating and giving these other crops a roadmap, a way out. We are grouping them the way we've organized coffee through cooperatives. We will also organize macadamia, avocado, and even potato farmers.
The uptake of youth, Bwana Waziri, in the cooperatives is lacking. What do you think, perhaps, what would you attribute to that? And are there any incentives to help the youth feel attracted to, cooperative farming and, delving into the cooperative sector?
Yeah, good question, George. Our young men are techno-savvy. Most of our cooperatives have been led by older persons. And that's why, as a policy, we are now encouraging the formation and incorporation of young people in the leadership of cooperatives. One way of also encouraging our young men to join the cooperatives is the use of technology, digital technology. Our Nairobi Coffee Exchange has now been digitalized, and we can settle payment through direct sales settlement. These are all digital ways of selling coffee. This is where young men can explore and excel. You can sell our coffee, we can market our coffee to any part of the world. And we are now championing the cause of e-commerce. And this is where young men also are doing very well. So the other issue is by allowing young men to lease our farms, to rent our lands, they can now participate in farming. Most of our land and farms are owned by older people, our parents and our grandparents. I've seen this model being applied in Meru, where a young man who just finished university I think he did Bachelor of Science, has leased out almost 20 acres and has planted coffee. So if our old men allow our young men to participate and lease or rent or hire their land, then we can see more young people.
Shall we get to a place where, Waziri, remember, some of, the older generation grew up with tea and coffee. They were the cash crops at the time at very large scale. Whereas we appreciate and understand that the reforms that your ministry, as mentioned in conjunction with the Deputy President, is working on. Shall we get to a place where we say, fine, we are back to having these two as, back as the highest, and seeing farmers not uprooting tea and coffee, plants from their farms?
Listen, George, last year, our president did engage Kenyans and assure the nation and the Kenyan people that we will introduce the guaranteed minimum return on milk, on coffee, on tea, and other value chains. As a government today, we have charged with the responsibility of ensuring that we protect Kenyan farmers first and look for new markets to be able to create the price and value that we desire, the old prices. We allowed liberalization. You remember in the 90s, we had structural adjustment programs. This liberalization completely wiped out the innovation and the value of our crops like coffee and tea. You saw the collapse of giant societies, Mukurweini Farmers Cooperatives. You saw Tetu Farmers Cooperatives. You saw Kamasharia, New Iveti in Machakos. You saw societies in Embu, Kibuku Farmers, in Kiberigwe. They split. Abogeta, they came down. Komodhai Farmers had 13 factories. They all split. Kikima in Machakos, Kangundo, they all collapsed. We had also Chwele Farmers in Bungoma. All these came down because of liberalization. And as an administration, our first assignment is to look for markets for these crops and value chains like dairy. And as soon as we've identified those markets, we will make sure we transfer the highest value to the farmers so that the real king, the king in this chain is the farmer. Once the farmer enjoys the best price, then the rest will sort themselves. Even our production, our productivity will go up.
Okay. Even as the, handle the dockets that you mentioned, the other docket that you handle, of course, is the MSMEs.
Sure.
And when Kenyans, see you, they see Hustler Fund. First of all, how has been the success? How would you rate the performance of this Hustler Fund? How has it performed over the years? It's been for more than a year now.
Thank you, George. That is a very interesting story that I always laugh to.
Yeah.
Because this is a fund that was initiated, conceptualized in my own eyes. From the day one that we sat last year, even before we went to office, on the background, we were busy crafting the Hustler Fund. Because if I give you the background then, Kenyans, over 7 million Kenyans had been listed by CRBs because of borrowing through digital lenders who are predatory.
Yes.
And they made Kenyans to go into Credit Reference Bureau. Now, as an intervention, you remember our president did mention last year, Dr. William Ruto, that we will establish a Hustler Fund.
Yes.
That will be lent at 0 digit to all Kenyans and applied through your phone without any form of security. Many Kenyans before then, George, if you borrowed money through those other digital lenders, they will tell your mother, they will tell your father, they will tell your wife, your sister, and even your children that your father has borrowed 2,000 shillings
from us.
So they embarrassed you, they ridiculed you, and they put you into shame before your immediate family. And so Kenyans were really completely upset with the ways of collecting and recovering this money. And the price of this money was very high. This Hustler Fund is an innovative product targeting Kenyans at the bottom of the pyramid. We started on 30th of November, the launch at Railways. And to date, George, I have a story to tell you, a good story. 22 million Kenyans have joined the fund. 19 million have, 22 have enrolled, 19 million have borrowed money. George, the story is breaking ceilings and breaking the clouds of any formal digital lending in the world. The onboarding at one time was about 235,000 Kenyans joining per second at the peak. Now, over time, the fund is maturing and hitting the climax. We are almost achieving a 100% revolving sustainable fund. On 30th of this month, we'll be celebrating 1 year. During this period, we have over 1 million Kenyans who have borrowed 100 times. And among those are Kenyans, one Kenyan who has borrowed 1,309 times. I saw in Parliament this week.
In fact, let's just listen to that Parliament. That's parliamentarian who was poking holes into the speech by the president.
I have an answer for him.
Oh, okay, absolutely.
I have an answer for him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. Madam Speaker, as I was seated here, I decided to repeat 10 times listening to the president's speech again. I am shocked. The Bible says, "Thou shalt not lie." When the president stands there and mentions a name, I think it was called Carissa, somebody from Coast, who has taken Hustler Fund 714,000. For his information and the public at large, an individual can only get between 500 shillings to 50,000. May I know how Mr. Carissa got 714,000 and reported it to his president? So it is a lie. The president has lied. I want to let you know, Mr. Soro, in case you don't know, I see you are jittered. You can only get such figure.
Honorable Fatuma, do you want to be informed by Honorable Soro?
Very well informed, very sober, and as a Muslim, I say the truth. So don't inform me about lies. I'm here to say the truth.
What is your point of order, Chief Whip?
Honorable Speaker, I think Honorable Fatuma is misleading the country. It is indeed true that the individual can only access up to 50,000. But it's also true that there are groups, and that individual is not blocked from accessing funds from a group. So he may have access from the individual and then got more money when he formed, or rather when he joined the rest in that group. So he got 714 as a group.
Member for Migori, is that what you meant?
Madam Speaker, may I inform the House that birds of same feathers flock together. I can repeat here, Hustler Fund is under our Special Funds Accounts Committee. I speak here to inform you once more that if it was a group, there's no group called, I'll give you the exact name that your president talked of. Harrison Carissa can never be a group. That's an individual. And if it was a group, then tell your president to come back here and say it was a group, because he lied. The truth is he lied. And there are more lies. The guy has perfected his lies that these days doesn't write them or read them anymore.
Was it that his activity, sentiments from that parliamentarian? Did the president lie?
No. First, let me inform Mheshimiwa Fatuma of Migori that President William Ruto is the president of the Republic of Kenya, popularly elected by the people of Kenya. So he is not the president of the chief whip, Mheshimiwa Osoro, but he's also the president of Honorable Fatuma. Secondly, the programs that we run is not the programs of a particular party, but it's a national program. We do not discriminate. In fact, the people of Migori are very good people. They are the biggest members of the Hustler Fund. Over 325,000 Migori people have joined the Hustler Fund. And out of them, they have borrowed over 420 million shillings. And the repayment rate is 69%.
Okay.
I also want to inform Honorable Fatuma that Harrison Garissa is a tuk-tuk operator in Mombasa, exists, and we intend to invite him to speak so that it's not us or the president speaking, but Harrison himself. Harrison has operates a tuk-tuk in Mombasa and has borrowed 814 times the Hustler Fund.
How much for those times?
Is limit kept on how much?
Every time he borrows, how much does what is his limit, as you say?
His limit has been growing.
From the initial?
From initial 500, and based on his borrowing...
500 bob, 500 shillings?
No. We began, his starting point was 1,600.
Oh, okay.
That's where he started. Not all Kenyans started at 500 because we were using your M-Pesa or airtime usage to score majority of Kenyans who had no record before. But today, we are going to replace the airtime and M-Pesa usage with now the Hustler Fund borrowing history.
Okay.
So anybody who has borrowed all these times achieve this amount of money. On 30th, we are now working out a celebration which will be the highlight will be now enhancement of the limit.
Yes.
And we are now doing consultation, and we believe those will be the highlights of the new. And people like Kombe will really grow. We'll want to fast track them because they have demonstrated he has saved over 37,000 shillings.
So Mr. Kamrisa borrowed 814 times?
Times, yes. Yes.
Starting from 1,600?
Yes.
And it has risen all the way to?
To 714,000. Okay. That is the aggregate, the total amount of money is 714.
Okay.
So if you today, there is one Kenyan who has borrowed 4.5 million. Garissa is not the highest.
Okay.
And this Kenyan has borrowed Hustler Fund more than 904 times.
Okay.
And has attained 4,500,000. And we have the records. These are digitally lent money. They go through, we have two banks, KCB and Family Bank. And they came in as pilots. We're now turning the corner to open up to other banks and even SACCOs and other microfinance so that we widen the access and the distribution of the Hustler Fund. As we speak today, we have lent out 38 billion shillings.
Okay.
And we have received back 28 billion shillings, a repayment rate of 70%.
That seems to be an increase because it has been argued to be among the worst, repaid loans in comparison to traditional banks and SACCOs. There were concerns about the repayment. Could you speak about what could have attributed to the increase in the repayment rate?
One, we don't punish, and we don't abuse, and we don't shame. We are a responsible government. What we go for is we reward and promote good behaviors. Anybody who has borrowed consistently and repaid, We reward them by enhanced limit and also a better credit score. And then his borrowing is almost at zero rate. There is no fund like this one. Secondly, we are going to match. You remember in his inauguration of this fund, the president pledged a 50% match of up to 3,000 lifetime if you save more than 6,000.
Oh, okay.
We have, today, we have saved 2 billion shillings in the total fund. Now, our funds are costing 8% consolidated. Okay. And there is no other single fund in Kenya, and I don't think in this neighborhood, and it could be even in the world, which charges 8% per year.
Interest. Yes.
Interest.
Yeah.
Remember, Hustler Fund is an intervention by government of Kenya to correct a market failure, where digital lenders and any other those Shylocks were lending at the rate of 2 to 3% per day. And if you aggregate that, that will take you to over 365% to even 500% per year. Which business can support such kind of borrowing rates? That is the action and the success that I count in the Hustler Fund.
Absolutely.
If you look at Equity, Family Bank, and these other small banks, when they came, we were being told to get a checkbook, you need to have 10,000 shillings. To buy a checkbook, school fees, a checkbook, you needed this. Equity, Family, and these other banks came, even now KCB has adopted, KCB Mtaani. They have adopted the same model. If there is any model that can succeed in banking, and I'm now speaking with my 1-year experience, I'm advising the big professional banks who are more strong, knowledgeable than me, that the way to go is to go down to the grassroots. Partner with us, and we will move Kenya forward.
And we hope they are listening. Waziri, time to take a short break. When we come back, we delve more on matters MSMEs, as well as, the intrigues of Hustler Fund, even as we look at the other docket that is handles, which is cooperatives. You're watching the Daily Report. Keep your feedback, your questions coming. We will be channeling them to the Honorable CS. We're still right here in studio. We're back in a few minutes.
Wanasema wasemao kuwa elimu ni bahari haiishi kwa kuchotwa. Wakati mwingi natangamana na wanafunzi madarasani, sio kama mwalimu bali kama nahodha kwenye kipindi cha tasnia ya elimu. Na iwapo utanikosa madarasani, basi utanipata nyanjani nikisaka habari zenye usawa, ufasaha na ukweli. Na iwapo utanikosa nyanjani, bila shaka utanipata studioni, hapa nikisoma habari na kuendesha mijadala mikomavu. Mimi ni Andrin Kilemi, mpenzi wa lugha ya Kiswahili na elimu kwa jumla.
They say money makes the world go round. So let's slow things down a bit. Put things in perspective. From the markets to the streets to the stocks, we make the complex comprehensible. Join me, Hibak Said, on TV47 Business News for market insights like never before.
What's making the headlines? What does it mean to you? How does it affect you? We answer all these questions every Sunday for half an hour on To The Point Show. Hey, I'm Grace Kuriakanja, and a lot has happened this week. Let's dive into it.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close.
Welcome back. We thank you for staying with us. You're still with the Honorable Simon Kiprono Chelugui, the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Cooperatives, Micro and Small and Medium Enterprises, that is MSMEs in the country. Before we went to the break, Waziri, we were talking about the Hustler Fund, and a question came in about the 5% deduction made every time a Kenyan borrows from the Hustler Fund. What are the numbers so far, and how can Kenyans access these savings?
Thank you, George. That's a very interesting question. Yes. You know, one of the productive features of the Hustler Fund was credit-led savings. Yes. So we give you loans and we take out 5% to save for you and build a pension, short-term and long-term. Mm-hmm. The next action will be savings-led credit. We will have enabled a number of Kenyans to save enough to secure them borrowings, to secure them a loan. Okay. Who could not, like this Kenyan who has saved 4.5 million, has accumulated over 235,000. And you know this, what we did is to set up an infrastructure. Mm-hmm. We even went further and created a product for voluntary savings. Kenyans who just want to save. We have a Kenyan who has saved 620,000 shillings through the Hustler Fund. Okay. In total, the voluntary savings have now hit 31 million shillings. Okay. And the personal savings which were deducted, the 5% that are deducted in every loan, is now hitting 2 billion shillings. And what we are doing is we are putting this money under the RBA rules. Our product definition allows the customer or the saver to access 30% of that money to relieve him on cash flow requirements. And then 70% will be accessed at age 60. So that means they will build up the savings, and those Kenyans, you know, our economy, our employment, the workforce in Kenya is so skewed. We have 19 million active workers. I was Minister for Labor, so the numbers I'm giving you is the real numbers. Out of those, 3 million are formally employed. Out of those 3 million, the private sector has employed 2 million. The public sector, myself, from the president, the entire executive, and the workers, teachers, the servicemen, the public servants, the civil servants, the state officers, in the counties and in the national, total add up to 1 million. That 3 million shillings are really are the people supporting the Kenyan economy formally. But we have 16 million Kenyans out there. So how do we transition even 3-4 million of those 16 million to the formal economy? Who can be taxed, who can pay as you earn, they can pay NHIF so that they support the health infrastructure. The entire NHIF is being supported by 3 million people who then provide insurance to cover the rest of Kenyans. Okay. But if we increase the number of formal employees to even 5 to 6 or even 9 million, half of the Kenyan workforce, then you know our NHIF, our NSSF, and even the welfare, because we are contributory. So we pool resources. So you don't have to pay so much yourself to cover medical bills for our neighbor and our relatives and other Kenyans, because the burden is being spread across 9 million people. Yeah,
Waziri, when you speak about these numbers, even the success of Hustler Fund, when you look at the biggest complaint coming in from Kenyans is that they do not have money in their pockets. What is the efficiency of this Hustler Fund, these products that you're talking about, juxtaposing with the current high cost of living and the concerns that are being raised by Kenyans?
You know, high cost of living is driven, number one, by the cost of food. Yeah. And the policy that the advice as cabinet and the leadership of this administration under President William Ruto consciously decided to invest in production as opposed to consumption. It means, how do we invest in production of food? By supplying farm inputs, subsidizing farm inputs, as opposed to subsidizing imports.
Yeah.
So today, as we speak, we have over 61 million bags of maize. That means the cost of food will go down. To drive our hospitality industry, we need furnace oil. To drive our power generation, we need oil. To drive even our medical facilities, we all need fuel. So because of that, fuel is paid in foreign exchange. And this again is another problem. The forex exchange in Kenya have gone south. And not just in Kenya, the rest of the world. The dollar, 1 year ago, was 120. Today, we are talking of about 130. So even the cost of 1 liter of fuel has changed to now 200 from 120 because of the forex. And then again, the fellows are giving us fuel are foreigners. It's coming from Russia, it's coming from Arab world, it's coming from outside Kenya. Those people do not know that we have this problem in Kenya, and they will continue. And that is why we must invest, we must mobilize our cooperatives in Kenya so that we can now get import substitution so that we can compensate the dollars that we use to import with the dollars that we receive by exporting. That way we have a balanced trade, balanced income. Number 3, in terms of cost of living,
yes,
is now the debt.
Yeah.
We had, our debt portfolio has changed completely because we service this debt in dollars or in forex, and the rate has changed. So the debt that we could spend 100 shillings is now costing us 150 shillings to service 1 unit of debt.
Okay.
So it has taken away all the available cash, because there's one thing, George, that we can never do, and we should never do, is to default our debt. We have to be a responsible government, a responsible people. Yesterday, the 8th country in Africa or in the world went down in defaulting debts. We don't want Kenya to be in that, because even this station, TV47, you are relying on certain things. You may want to attract investors to expand the network and reach out and the size of this station. You cannot get even a single investor if Kenya government defaults. You are private, we are public. If Kenya government defaults, it is cross-cutting. It will affect the private sector, it will affect the private sector. So we as a government must always ensure that we are people of integrity and we honor our commitments, our promise. We keep our promise.
Okay. On the MSMEs, Waziri, on the turnover for MSMEs, it has been reviewed recently to 3%. Do you think that would kill or discourage the entrepreneurial spirit, especially from the youth? Because at the end of the day, they do not, it feels like this tax that has been increased all the way to 3% could, discourage them.
We have a number of taxes. We have a turnover tax of up to 5% of what it was originally, if I remember, 1.5%. Now it's gone to 3%. And this consolidates all the kind of taxes that one would pay. It makes it easier for any SME to participate in tax payment.
Yes. And
the kind of paperwork required will also be eliminated. But however, this introduction is not the end, and it's not we are engaging, now that we have a standalone ministry, we are engaging National Treasury, we are engaging MSMEs. Our idea, we have about 1.5 million MSMEs in Kenya, and we are now forming association forums where we can ventilate and engage national treasury. As a ministry, we will be championing their cause so that whatever national treasury is pushing in terms of legislation, in terms of taxation, resonates well with the MSME. So again, we have been laying the foundation. One other challenge is our MSMEs do not have a platform. They are not connected.
Okay.
So we are progressing, and last 2 weeks, through the World Bank, we signed Kenya Jobs and Entrepreneurs Transformation Program that will see many MSMEs get supported.
Okay.
And the idea here is to move them from MSMEs, from micro to small and to medium. Thank you.
Yeah, Waziri, on the Hustler Fund, as you end up on that topic, the rules, as you've talked about the reforms that you'll be working on, even as you celebrate the 1-year anniversary, to be able to now move from the M-Pesa and all other activity and airtime to now your credit history on the platform itself. Do you think that perhaps in the last 1 year, with the rules still being in the fog, has it fallen susceptible to issues of corruption?
George, if there is any fund in Kenya, and I think I can say in the world,
yes,
that has ensured that every shilling given to us by the National Treasury is safe, protected, and secure, is the Hustler Fund.
Okay.
It is the epitome of efficient government program. Because whatever we receive we are working with reputable organizations. We are very lean on administration. We are riding on infrastructure of leading technology firms like Safaricom, Airtel, Telcom. And we are working with systems of banks like Family Bank and KCB. We signed an agreement to pilot this project. And we have a shared service. Out of the 8%, we share 50-50. 2% for the growth of the fund, 2% for administration of the fund. Yes. The other 4% goes to the service providers. We utilize that to promote the cause and interest of the Hustler Fund. So this fund is the most, you can see, you can track, and you can know from the source to the borrower and back, and you can see all in a dashboard.
Okay. So we won't hear anything to do with corruption.
Nothing.
On the fund.
Not in the nearest future.
Not in the nearest future.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So on the, we have a question from Mireri Junior who asked the role of, on matters SACCO savings, and exactly on the role of SASRA if it cannot safeguard the SACCO savings, and what measures your ministry and yourself have taken to ensure SACCO members get their savings and no SACCO members loses his or her savings going forward.
Thank you, and very good question.
Yes.
SASRA came into being around 9 years ago.
Yes.
To regulate savings and credit societies, popularly known as SACCOs. Elsewhere, they are called credit unions. George, as soon as I took office, I've been to over 53 annual general meetings of SACCOs to listen to them, to advise them, to inform them, and to also receive feedback from them. I've listened to the members, I've listened to the management, and I've listened to the regulator. They are very progressive SACCOs, very successful. One of the leading SACCOs includes Mwalimu SACCO, Police SACCO, Stima SACCO, Arambe SACCO, Asina, Afya. George, if you go to Nairobi City, and you look around, the buildings around, you will see Afya Center, you will see Arambe Plaza, you will see Mwalimu Plaza. These are owned by SACCOs. These are members' funds. And what we do, we have, SASRA regulates 369 SACCOs. The SACCOs regulated, for you to join the regulatory regime, you are either deposit taking, means you have attained at a certain threshold of savings, or your asset base has reached 100 million. 1 million, that time we were saying $1 million. Now the $1 million shifted to 150 million. Now if you attain 100 million in terms of asset, you join the specified circles for regulation. But we have other circles below who are not, who I say below the radar, but they still operate, they still pick members' money, and they are not honoring or paying. They are operating
not
almost...
even dividends.
Not even dividends, no return. If you go in there, you get money, you don't get money. Now, to deal with those fellows, we are coming up with shared services. And I already have launched 2. The Co-op Tech, which are promoted by the movement, is a shared services platform.
Yes.
I launched that in Pride Inn Hotel in Mombasa in June. And a week later, I launched another one called Sacco Central here in New Stanley in Mombasa, in Nairobi. The idea behind this is to pool and put SACCOs into a platform where the regulator can be able to see operations and be able to correct. That is one. 2 is to pool resources into one basket to enable any SACCO who may have liquidity challenges, overnight requirement, can reach out to a sister SACCO, brother SACCO, get the money at an agreed rate.
Yes.
And of course with the regulator overseeing the same. The third issue is for purposes of creating the third payment system, where SACCOs can receive money terminated in SACCOs. If I'm living in London and I want to send my mother sterling pounds, she will receive her money at home in where I come from, Kisanana. There's a SACCO there, Boresha. She can get the money there. But today, the money will terminate in Nairobi, and another arrangement will have to be made because it will terminate in a bank and it will be organized. Someone has again to go to the bank, withdraw the money, and send it to her through the SACCO. By doing shared services, we'll be able to facilitate my mother to receive the sterling pounds from when I send them from London. The fourth one is to enable upcoming SACCOs, like the ones below 100 million, to benefit from technology. This technology is very expensive and it changes on a daily basis. It becomes very expensive for new, young SACCOs. When they plug in to a similar service, they will be able to now utilize and benefit at a small fee, and that will enable them to grow. Now you've asked a question.
Yes.
There are SACCOs, and I'm not relenting. I'm very vigilant and very clear in what I expect SACCOs to do. I know fellows who have been charged with the responsibility to oversee operations of SACCOs. They have been elected, but they have taken advantage to abuse members, defraud members, take their money, invest their money in wrong deals. Savings and credit is about cash. It's not about putting money in a house, putting money in a vehicle, putting money in a building to invest. Members are not allowed to invest savings and credit money. They are supposed to keep that money in near liquid form. You can do government paper, which is easy to convert. You can do fixed deposit, but you cannot build a house. If that member comes to withdraw, you tell him, we put up this building, we are waiting for a buyer to buy so that we give you back your money. That is nonsense.
So these SACCOs that are misbehaving, your eyes are
on them.
Your eyes
and I've instructed SASRA to be extra vigilant. Short of that, we'll be taking action on anybody who will try to abuse. We will also revive. Other than taking corrective measures and being vigilant on existing, we want to also bring back, we have Mo University, SACCO. You know, in Mo University, you see that big building in Eldoret.
Yes.
We have SACCOs here in Kiambu. I saw them demonstrating the other day, Metropolitan. Again, those are cases that we are following up to ensure members' funds are safe and secure. We want to assure depositors and customers or the savings and credit members that a shilling in the bank, a shilling in a credit circle should be as safe as a shilling in a bank.
Waziri, as we enter the home stretch of this conversation, we have a question from Jen who asked that about the, she is an owner of she's a trader at Gikomba market, and when calamities such as fires do happen, they are left with, nowhere to go, yet they had taken loans, they are fallen under the MSME bracket. What would you speak to, such situations, and especially traders of Gikomba market?
Thank you. And not just Gikomba, all other markets.
Absolutely.
We have a split responsibility on the markets. Markets fall under another docket, that is the housing in urban development. And also occasionally falls under the counties.
Yes.
But I think going forward, this is a discussion that we've had. Last time we had fires in Gikomba. Another time we had some fires along Gong Road and across parts of the country. Many of our markets have burned down, they have been demolished, or they have been criminalized. We have goons who attack markets with the purpose of either taking some stalls or grabbing the land. Again, these hustlers or these MSMEs have suffered. The way forward for this hustler is, number one, we have to take insurance. Number two, working with Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Authority, we want to aggregate the hustlers and begin to create these small businesses to create a savings. I'm looking forward to these 1.5 million SMEs saving on average over 1,000 shillings per day. And out of that, by end of the month, they will have saved 30 shillings, 30,000. By end of 12 months, they will have saved about 360,000. This amount of savings will enable them to access 3 times of that amount to expand their business, and they have therefore be able to build fireproof facilities, formal infrastructure to protect their business. And again, they'll afford insurance against fires and any other calamities. That is the only way, because fires will always come, disasters will always come, but the difference will be what plans, what mitigation did you provide? Even the big businesses, they burn. I've seen supermarkets. You remember the supermarkets opposite newsstand, the Nakumat, burned down. But you see, insurance came over and compensated the investor. So our SMEs have always suffered because of that informality. So I'm encouraging our SMEs in Gikomba and any other SMEs, let us begin by saving every day. And we will give you a platform to save. Number two, take insurance to protect our businesses from calamities like fires and accidents.
Waziri, in perhaps 30 seconds, because you need to wind up, what was the secret behind you moving from the previous administration? You survived into the new administration. What did you do different?
Number one is doing your job well. Number two, being loyal to the cause. I've worked with President William Ruto before I joined cabinet, during cabinet, and even the transition. And over time, we've gained a strong relationship with the president, hence transitioning. Whatever assignment I've been given, I have worked hard to deliver. Remember the water challenges we had? We remember the Solai Dam, how we managed. You remember the Ndakaini water challenges, Suswa. We had challenges in Mwache Dam. We had issues in Karimenu. I had 18 meetings to deliver Karimenu to the site, to the contractor who had been holding his check for 3 years. In Mwache, in Twake, we had a challenge. Farmers had not been compensated for 3 years, yet the contractor had been mobilized and paid. It took my intervention, called the governors, that time Gilu, Alfred Mutua, and Professor Kibuta Gibwana. We came here to Ole Sereni and made them agree that we need to move in. When I had issues of Mwache Dam, which is now 10% in Mombasa, I went to Mombasa 15 times, Kwale, to meet Governor Mvurya and his 2 MCAs who had refused to relocate from the site.
Okay.
And all that, we came up with an ADB program. We have now sewerage in a place called Marsabit, Mandera. We have sewerage waterworks in Chebareria in West Pokot. And similar in Gobu, similar in Mwala, in Machakos. All this, we managed to improve water by 5%. Okay. When it came to labor, we stopped any strikes in Kenya. Atuoli never, in one day, never at any one time, abused me. His character has been to dress down all ministers. But in our relationship with Francis Atuoli, the Secretary General of KOTU, in my engagement, we developed respect. And there's no single day that he abused me. And we ensured that industrial relation in Kenya was moderated and respected. And then now in cooperatives. We are seeing new energy, new life in the cooperative movement.
Waziri, we are really pressed for time. I'll give you just a few seconds to address Kenyans using that camera, especially to those in the cooperatives, the MSMEs. What is your pledge to them, even as you go through the first 5 years of this administration?
Thank you. To go far, you can go alone. If we want to move Kenya, we have to come together, and the cooperative model is the way to go. Pooling resources, pooling our knowledge, and even sourcing for our markets. I want to demonstrate the mantra in a cooperative movement. If you clap your hand with one finger, you can see the sound. If you use 2 fingers, you can hear the sound. If you use 3 fingers, you can feel the sound is increasing. If you use 4 fingers, you can feel the sound is higher. And when you pull together like this, that is the power of cooperatives. Going forward, cooperative is the way to go. On the MSME, all Kenyan businesses, 95% are SMEs. And that means the focus, the policy from counties and national government should be geared towards promoting MSMEs, both at national level and also at the county level. That way, we'll be building our future industrialists. Hako Industries, Kibuku Industries, all these mastermind, they were all incubated at Kenya Industrial Estate as one-man business. Today, they are multinational. Absolutely. So those are the stories that can push our future SMEs to multinationals.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You've been speaking to Honorable Simon Chelugui, Simon Kiprono Chelugui, the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Cooperatives and Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, MSMEs in Kenya. Thank you so much, Waziri, for joining us. And we look forward to hearing more stories and to having a conversation a little bit later on, especially on matters Hustler Fund and what you'll have achieved in the years to come. Thank you so much for...
I want to invite Kenyans on 30th to celebrate with us the Hustler Fund. We'll have a lot of products. We will mobilize the whole country.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we look forward to that. My name is George Maringa, wishing you a good night from Nairobi. Thank you so much for your feedback. I'll see you tomorrow on The People's Court.